Welcome, gents. Some people talk, others arrive, and you just feel them. There's a certain kind of man who doesn't need noise to be noticed. You don't always see him coming, but when he's near, the atmosphere shifts. Not because he's trying to dominate, and not because he's looking for attention, but because his energy speaks first. That's the Sigma male. He carries a quiet spiritual weight that unsettles the fake and calms the real. This is not about being mysterious on purpose. It's not about aloofness. It's about deep inner alignment. A Sigma male has spent time in solitude, not to isolate himself, but to understand himself. And that self-awareness radiates. You may not always understand him right away, but you feel him. His presence says things no words could. He's not here to impress anyone. He's not playing a role. His path is carved from clarity, pain, and independence. People sense it without knowing how. Some feel drawn to it, others feel threatened, but no one truly ignores it. If this sounds like you, stop second-guessing the power you carry. You were never meant to blend in or follow a formula. You were built to lead in silence, influence without effort, and challenge without speaking. That energy you have, it's not a mystery. It's mastery. It's a result of every lesson you learned in the dark while the world wasn't looking. Never doubt what you bring to a space. They feel you long before you say a word. Let's get started, gents. Number one, his energy doesn't seek attention, it reveals truth. Some people enter a space and immediately try to make noise. They talk louder, they flash status, they work hard to be seen. But the Sigma male doesn't do any of that. He doesn't have to. His presence alone is enough to shake things up, not because he's trying to stand out, but because he's completely grounded in who he is. And when someone is that real, everyone else starts to feel the weight of their own performance. You see, his energy isn't loud, it's clear. It carries a kind of stillness that makes people look inward. Without saying a word, he makes people think twice about the image they're putting on. Not because he's judging, but because standing next to someone that raw makes pretense uncomfortable. The masks that people wear every day to feel accepted or admired suddenly feel too tight. It's unsettling for some. When you're used to being surrounded by people who play along, someone who refuses to play anything at all feels like a mirror. You start to notice how much of what you do is just habit, just survival, just ego. And it's not that he exposes you out of pride or superiority. It's the exact opposite. His calm is rooted in deep self-honesty. And that kind of honesty tends to pull the truth out of others, whether they're ready for it or not. People feel it in subtle ways. They hesitate before lying. They fidget when they exaggerate. They lose track of their script because something in them senses that this man doesn't care about surface stories. He listens past them. He watches quietly. And something about that makes people want to strip down the act. That's the Sigma effect. He doesn't seek to be the center of attention. He becomes the center of reflection. Number two, you feel understood without saying a word. There's something rare about a man who can sit with you in silence and still make you feel heard. The Sigma male has this quiet presence that does not push, does not demand, but somehow reaches into the parts of you you've never explained to anyone. You don't need to pour out your story or explain your behavior. You just feel like he gets it. And not because he's trying to, but because he's already lived through things that most people are too afraid to admit even exist. His presence is calm, but it is not empty. It is filled with clarity. There's no pressure around him, no awkward energy, no small talk to fill the gaps, just a sense of peace that invites truth to come forward on its own. It is almost like you can breathe differently around him. The weight you carry on your shoulders starts to feel a little lighter, just because someone finally sees you without trying to fix you. And that's the magic of it. He doesn't jump in with advice, he doesn't interrupt with his own story, he lets you be. And in doing that, he ends up showing you a version of yourself that you forgot was there. Strong, honest, capable, wounded maybe, but not broken. Most people either judge or try to rescue. The Sigma male does neither. He holds space. He sees you as you are and somehow also as who you could be. And because he sees both, you feel accepted and challenged at the same time. That combination is rare. That's why people feel drawn to him and a little shaken too. When you're around him, you realize how little you're used to being understood. And when someone understands you like that, even in silence, you don't forget it. You carry that moment with you. It stays, because for the first time, you didn't need to perform to be seen. You just needed to be real, and that was enough. Number 3, his absence feels like a missing compass. There are people whose presence you barely notice, and there are people whose absence you feel. The Sigma male falls into the second category, but not in the obvious way. He isn't the loudest. He doesn't try to lead or control the room, yet somehow when he's no longer there, something feels off. Not chaotic, just unsettled, like a center point has quietly been removed and everything is slightly drifting without it. He doesn't ground a space with force. He does it with calm, with stillness, with steady attention. He listens when others are busy speaking over each other. He watches when people are too caught up in their own noise to see what's really going on. And while he's present, everyone subconsciously adjusts. Not out of fear or pressure, but because his energy sets a quiet tone of honesty, clarity, and balance. When he leaves, that balance goes with him. You start to notice the tension in the room again, the forced laughter, the little performances people put on to keep up appearances. Without realizing it, people miss the silence he brought. The kind of silence that didn't feel empty but anchoring, a silence that allowed truth to breathe. People may not say it out loud, but they feel it in their bodies. Conversations lose depth. The energy shifts from grounded to scattered. Something important is gone, even if they can't put it into words. That's the kind of impact you can't fake. He doesn't dominate, he stabilizes. And when he's not there, the absence reveals just how much he was holding things together, not by effort, but by presence alone. He's not just missed. He's needed in ways most people only understand once he's gone. Number 4, people either crave his energy or flee from it. There's something about the Sigma male that doesn't leave room for the middle. You're either drawn to him like a magnet, or you find yourself looking for the nearest exit. His presence doesn't sit quietly in the background. It touches something inside you, even if you can't explain what it is. It's not charm, it's not status. It's something deeper, something that makes people feel like a mirror has just been placed in front of them, but not the flattering kind. His energy doesn't flatter, it reveals. And that's what makes it powerful and polarizing. If you're the kind of person who's been wearing a mask for too long, pretending, avoiding, running from your own reflection, being around him can feel like too much. He doesn't have to say anything. Just standing near him makes it harder to lie to yourself. It forces a kind of honesty you may not be ready for, but for those who are ready, his energy is magnetic. It feels safe, grounding, and real, like finally taking a breath after pretending to be someone else all day. It's refreshing, but also challenging, because he doesn't allow you to stay where you are. He doesn't push. But something about him calls you higher, and once you feel it, you want more of it. This is the cost of true spiritual presence. It's not entertainment, it's exposure. It strips away the fake and brings you face to face with what's real. And not everyone is built for that. Some will try to stay close, hoping that being around him will somehow transfer his peace to them. Others will run, uncomfortable with how much they feel seen. Either way, no one walks away unchanged. His energy doesn't just leave an impression, it leaves a mark. Number 5, he operates from purpose, not performance. The Sigma male moves with intention. He doesn't act to impress or win favor. He's not chasing claps, likes, or a round of applause. Every decision he makes comes from something solid inside him. His own values, his own standards, his own sense of direction. That's rare, especially in a world where most people are performing for approval they don't even truly want. While others mold themselves to fit expectations, he remains unmoved. He knows what matters to him, and that's what drives his choices. He's not trying to look wise, sound successful, or come off powerful. He just is. And people notice that, even if they can't explain why. There's something deeply magnetic about a man who needs nothing from you but still offers presence, clarity, and direction. The truth is, he's not detached from life. He's just detached from performance. And that's exactly where his power comes from. He is not seeking yours. He's not loud, but he echoes. You might not remember every person you meet, but you remember him. Not because he made the most noise, but because he made the most sense. Or maybe he said almost nothing, but the way he said it or the pause he took before speaking said everything. The Sigma male has that rare kind of presence that stays with you. Days later, something he said will circle back in your mind. A sentence, a glance, even just a moment of silence that somehow carried more truth than hours of conversation. His energy is like a good book you didn't expect to love. You close it, but it stays with you. It follows you into quiet moments and makes you rethink what you thought you knew. He doesn't chase influence, but without trying, he leaves a lasting one. Number 6, he's a reminder that stillness can be a superpower. In a world where everyone's trying to be louder, faster, and constantly seen, the Sigma male does the opposite, and somehow that's what makes him unforgettable. He doesn't feel the need to raise his voice to prove a point. He doesn't explain himself just to be understood. He doesn't chase attention because he's already anchored in who he is. That quiet confidence is what sets him apart. His strength isn't in how much he says or does. It's in the stillness he carries, the kind that isn't shaken by other people's opinions, the kind that doesn't bend to pressure. He doesn't rush to react, doesn't scramble to correct how he's perceived, and that calm, controlled energy, it makes more impact than noise ever could. You start to notice how the loudest person in the room often lacks direction, but the one who moves with quiet certainty, that's who people end up watching. Not because he's trying to lead, but because his very stillness leads. It creates a space where truth has room to breathe. It reminds others that you don't need to prove your worth when you already know it. He's a walking contradiction to the world's obsession with performance. While everyone else is shouting, he's still. While others perform to be seen, he simply is, and that presence speaks for itself. This is what real power looks like. Not chaos, not flash, but clarity, focus, and peace that cannot be bought or faked. His stillness doesn't mean he's passive. It means he's powerful enough not to be moved by anything that isn't real. Number 7, he's spiritually self-regulating. There's a rare kind of strength in a man who knows how to carry his own storms. The Sigma male doesn't make his pain someone else's problem. He doesn't walk around spilling his frustrations, blaming others, or looking for pity. When life gets heavy, and it does, he doesn't react. He retreats, not to run, but to reflect, to get still, to face it within before speaking it out loud. He understands something most people don't. Emotional control isn't about suppression. It's about processing with precision. He doesn't offload his chaos onto people who didn't cause it. He doesn't lash out in confusion or unload in the heat of the moment. Instead, he sits with it. He takes the mess and untangles it on his own time. That's what makes his presence feel so grounded. He isn't dragging around emotional baggage and expecting you to carry it for him. He gives himself space to think clearly before responding. And when he finally does speak, you can tell it's coming from a place of insight, not impulse. He's not throwing around feelings just to feel heard. He's offering something honest and thoughtful because he's already sorted through the noise within himself. This kind of self-regulation is spiritual. It's not about being cold or distant, it's about being responsible with your energy. Most people act first and think later. The Sigma male reverses that, and that's why people trust his words. He doesn't react for attention. He speaks with intention. He's the kind of man you don't have to brace yourself around because you know he won't explode or collapse without warning. He's done the work. He's met himself in the silence. And that inner stability, you feel it the second he enters the space. Number 8, he radiates boundaries without speaking them. There's a kind of man who doesn't need to explain where his lines are. You just feel them. That's the Sigma male. He doesn't walk around demanding respect or spelling out his limits. But something about the way he moves, the way he looks at you, the way he holds space, it all sends a very clear message. Tread carefully. It's not fear he creates, it's awareness. You become hyper-conscious of how you speak, what you say, and how you approach him. Not because he's intimidating, but because his presence makes it clear that he knows exactly who he is and what he will not tolerate. It's not in his tone, it's in his posture, it's in his eyes. It's in the calm but unmistakable energy that says, I don't play power games, but I also won't let you play me. He doesn't need to tell you what his standards are. You sense them. You feel where the line is drawn without him having to mark it. That's not something you can fake. That kind of energy comes from deep self-respect, from years of holding yourself accountable, from learning when to walk away and when to stand still. People don't test him because they can feel the cost of doing so, not in a threatening way, but in a deeply grounded one. He's not reactive, he's resolved. And that's what makes him different. This is what real boundaries look like. They don't need to be announced. They are lived. They radiate from the inside out. And when you're in the presence of a Sigma male, you don't need a warning to know where he stands. You just know. Number 9, he's not impressive, he's impactful. The Sigma male doesn't try to impress you, and that's exactly why you remember him. He's not putting on a show, he's not dressed to convince, he doesn't recite achievements to earn your admiration. In fact, if you're looking for flash, you might overlook him at first, but give it time and something strange happens. Long after he's gone, his presence still lingers, a word he said, a look he gave, a truth he quietly stood on. It stays with you. That's the difference. Impressive is loud, it seeks approval, it wants applause, but impact? Impact happens quietly. It creeps up on you when you least expect, i.e. too. It makes you rethink something in your life, not because he told you to, but because something about how he exists challenged you without a single push. People chase being impressive because they think it means being valuable. But the Sigma male moves differently. He's not here to prove anything. He doesn't need your reaction to validate his identity. And that kind of grounded confidence leaves a much deeper mark. You might walk away from a conversation with him feeling like not much happened. But days later it hits you. He said something that pierced through your usual thinking, or maybe he didn't say much at all, but the way he listened, the way he held space, made you feel like your mask wasn't needed for once. That's real impact. It doesn't shine, it sinks in. It changes how you see things, how you carry yourself, how you handle your own silence. It doesn't beg to be remembered, but it is. The Sigma male doesn't care if you're impressed. What matters to him is being true. And in a world full of show, that kind of authenticity is what stays with people long after the lights go out. Number 10, he doesn't fight for space, he is the space. The Sigma male doesn't walk into a place trying to claim territory. He doesn't posture. He doesn't raise his voice or try to outshine anyone. He simply exists in a way that makes everything around him shift. His presence doesn't take up space, it creates it. Where others fight to be seen or heard, he doesn't compete at all. He doesn't need to. His energy doesn't push. It expands. And that expansion is felt in ways people can't always explain. Conversations slow down around him. People become more aware of themselves, not because he demands attention, but because he grounds attention. You feel it when he enters. The atmosphere changes, not with noise, but with a kind of invisible depth. It is like suddenly realizing the room was too loud, too fast, too chaotic. And now there's space to think, space to breathe, space to be. He doesn't pull you in with charisma. He invites you in with presence. There's no fight in him for dominance, no subtle battle for control. That's what makes him so different. While others are climbing ladders or carving out corners to be recognized, he becomes the environment itself. People don't adjust to him because they're forced to. They adjust because they want to. Something about him makes everything around him realign. He doesn't try to take space from others. He gives them more of it, just by being whole in himself. That's the kind of energy people don't forget, not because it shouted, but because it filled the room without saying a word. Number 11, he's spiritually dangerous to the superficial. There's a reason the Sigma male unsettles certain people, and it's not because he's rude, cold, or arrogant. It's because he doesn't play. He doesn't bite the bait. He doesn't entertain games, drama, or the emotional mess that so many use to pull attention. He simply watches, unmoved. And that stillness, it threatens those who live off noise. To the shallow, he comes off as distant or full of himself, but that's just projection. What they're really seeing is someone who's not hungry for approval, someone who doesn't need to engage in meaningless back and forth to feel important. And that kind of energy exposes everything they rely on to feel relevant. He doesn't roll his eyes, he doesn't argue, he just disconnects quietly, completely. And nothing is more frustrating to someone who thrives on chaos than being met with silence and zero reaction. The truth is, his depth makes it impossible for surface-level people to connect with him. Not because he's blocking them, but because they have nowhere deep enough inside themselves to meet him. His presence acts like a filter. If you're fake, insecure, or performative, you'll feel it, you'll squirm. You'll start over-explaining or overreacting, not because he said anything, just because he didn't play along, and that's where the danger lies. His existence alone challenges the nonsense others build their identity on. He doesn't confront it, he outgrows it. And by refusing to give it energy, he forces others to see how much of their life is made of noise. That's not arrogance, that's clarity. And to those stuck on the surface, clarity hurts. Number 12, he doesn't need to be heard to be felt. Most people try to be noticed by talking more, by filling the air with stories, opinions, and carefully chosen words designed to impress. But the Sigma male doesn't need to do that. He doesn't speak to be admired. He doesn't talk just to fill silence. His presence does the talking long before his mouth ever opens. There's a quiet intensity about him that says everything without saying anything at all. His body language, his focus, his stillness, it all communicates something powerful. He's aware, he's present. And most of all, he's not performing. He's not trying to win you over. He's simply showing up as himself, unfiltered, grounded, and fully there. People feel it instantly. Even those who don't usually notice energy can sense something different. They may not understand it, but they feel slightly more alert, more aware of themselves. It's not because he's demanding attention, it's because his presence sharpens the space. When he does speak, it's meaningful, measured. There's no fluff, no need to outshine, just truth. And even when he doesn't speak, his silence isn't empty. It's full of intention, full of listening, full of understanding more than most would ever realize. That's what separates him from others. He doesn't speak for validation. He doesn't crave the spotlight. His confidence isn't loud. It's lived. And because of that, people walk away from him feeling something they can't quite name. A sense that they were just in the presence of someone fully awake. He doesn't need to be heard to be felt. He just needs to be there, and that alone is enough to shift the room. In final words, real power doesn't need to announce itself, it just is. The Sigma male doesn't need to chase attention, wear a label, or explain his purpose. His presence alone speaks louder than most people's words ever could. You feel something when he's around. A shift, a pause, a sense of being seen without being judged. That's not mystery, it's mastery. This kind of energy doesn't come from pretending to be strong. It comes from facing yourself in silence, from choosing peace over performance, from knowing who you are without needing anyone else to confirm it. And if this sounds like you, don't doubt it, don't shrink it. You don't need to change to be understood. You're built for depth, not noise. You are not here to compete for space. You are the space. You are not here to match the world's chaos. You bring calm to it. You don't seek approval because you know your value is not up for debate. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you powerful. Let the world chase likes, status, and spotlight. You focus on truth, on presence, on keeping your spirit intact in a world that wants to sell it off cheap. Keep moving with purpose. Keep watching without reacting. Keep speaking only when it matters. That's not weakness, that's precision. Being a Sigma male isn't about style or trend, it's about alignment. And the more you stay true to that, the more your silence will echo louder than any performance around you. You don't just exist, you impact, without even trying. And that's your greatest strength. Thank you for watching, gents, and God bless you.